Milan stepped off the small transport ship, his boots crunching softly against the white sand of the coastal colony. The sun was beginning to dip behind distant cliffs, painting the sky in soft shades of orange and purple. His eyes were drawn immediately to the tall lighthouse that stood at the edge of the cliffs. Its white walls gleamed in the fading light, and the balcony near the top seemed to float above the crashing waves. He had heard stories about this place from travelers about the lighthouse that never failed to guide ships safely, and the quiet keeper who lived there alone. But nothing had prepared him for the gentle beauty of the scene in front of him. The waves glimmered under the sunset, and the air smelled faintly of salt and seaweed. A soft breeze brushed against his face, carrying with it the promise of something new. As Milan walked closer, he noticed a figure on the balcony. The person was tall, with calm movements that matched the rhythm of the sea. Even from this distance, Milan felt a strange pull, a curiosity that made his steps quicker. The figure's silver eyes seemed to watch the horizon, reflecting the last rays of the sun. "Hello." Milan called softly. His voice felt small against the vast sound of the ocean. The figure turned slowly, and a calm smile appeared. "Welcome," said the lighthouse keeper, his voice smooth like the waves below. "I am Aaron. Are you here to visit the lighthouse?" Milan nodded, trying to steady the nervous excitement in his chest. "Yes, I heard about this place and wanted to see it for myself." He hesitated, unsure if he should say more. But something about Aaron made it easy to speak. "You are welcome," Aaron replied, stepping down from the balcony. "It is rare for travelers to come here, especially at this hour. You must be tired." "I am," Milan admitted. "But the view, it is worth it?" His gaze swept over the cliffs, the waves, and the lighthouse walls that seemed to glow with the last light of the day. Aaron smiled faintly and gestured toward the entrance. "Come inside. The evening air can be chilly near the sea, and tea is ready." Milan followed, noticing the interior of the lighthouse. It was simple but warm, filled with shelves of books, maps, and small artifacts from places he could only imagine. A fire burned gently in the corner, casting golden light across the walls. The smell of warm tea and herbs filled the room, comforting him instantly. They sat together near the fire, and Aaron poured the tea carefully into small cups. Milan sipped slowly, savoring the warmth. "It is good," he said. "I have never tasted tea like this before." Aaron nodded, eyes soft. "It is made from the plants that grow along the cliffs. They are simple, but they have a calm effect. Like the sea." Milan smiled, feeling the tension in his shoulders melt away. The quiet of the lighthouse, the gentle sound of the waves outside, and the warmth of Aaron's presence made him feel safe in a way he had not felt in a long time. They talked for hours, sharing small stories about their lives. Milan spoke of Earth's forests, rivers, and cities filled with lights that seemed to touch the stars. Aaron spoke of the stars he had seen from this distant coast, of ships guided safely through storms, and the quiet nights he had spent watching the sea from the balcony above. As darkness fell, the lighthouse beam began to sweep slowly across the water, a soft white light moving steadily over the waves. Milan stepped toward the balcony, drawn by the serene view. Aaron followed, standing beside him. The wind was cool, brushing against Milan's face. He looked at the vast ocean below and then at Aaron, standing quietly by his side. A strange feeling stirred in his chest, a mixture of admiration and curiosity, a gentle pull that he did not fully understand. "The sea is endless," Milan said softly. "And yet, standing here, I feel like I could stay forever." Aaron glanced at him, a faint smile touching his lips. Some places, some moments, feel like that. Rare, but important. You are welcome to stay as long as you like. Milan nodded, feeling a warmth that had nothing to do with the tea or the fire. The lighthouse, the sea, and the quiet keeper with silver eyes had already begun to change him. He did not know what this visit would bring, but he knew one thing clearly: something new, something gentle and exciting, had already begun on the lighthouse balcony. The beam of the lighthouse swept across the waves, lighting the horizon, as if marking the start of a story neither of them could yet imagine. The next morning, Milan woke to the sound of waves gently crashing against the cliffs. Sunlight filtered through the narrow windows of the lighthouse, painting golden streaks on the wooden floor. He stretched and smiled, remembering the quiet warmth of the fire the night before. Something about the lighthouse made him feel calm, like time moved slower here, letting him breathe fully for the first time in months. After breakfast, Milan stepped outside. The balcony stretched above the rocky coast, offering a clear view of the ocean. Aaron was already there, his silver eyes scanning the horizon. He nodded at Milan, and the gesture made him feel unexpectedly welcomed. "You are early," Milan said softly. "I like the morning," Aaron replied. "The sea is quiet, and the light changes every day. Some moments are worth noticing." Milan leaned on the balcony railing, watching the waves shimmer under the rising sun. He realized that these quiet moments were rare. In the cities he had left behind, mornings were rushed and noisy. Here, the world seemed to pause, giving space for thought and for feelings that Milan did not always understand. Over the next few days, Milan found himself returning to the lighthouse, always eager to see Aaron. They did not speak constantly, much of their time was spent in comfortable silence. Yet the silences were never empty. Sometimes, they watched the ships passing far below, or traced the flight of seabirds gliding above the cliffs. Other times, they simply stood together on the balcony, letting the wind brush past them, feeling the rhythm of the sea in their bones. One evening, as the sky turned pink and orange, Milan brought a small sketchbook he had carried from Earth. "I want to capture this place," he said shyly, opening the book to a blank page. Aaron tilted his head curiously. "Show me." Milan hesitated but then began to draw the lighthouse, the balcony, and the waves below. He added the soft glow of the lanterns and the cliffs stretching into the distance. Aaron watched silently, his gaze thoughtful and quiet. "You have a gift," Aaron said at last. "You see the world differently than most. The lines you draw, they feel alive." Milan felt a warmth rise in his chest, a happiness he had not expected. "I only try to see what is already here," he admitted. "The place, it inspires me." Aaron nodded, a soft smile playing on his lips. "Some places and some people do that. They make life feel fuller, even without words." Milan looked at him, realizing that this was how he felt around Aaron. The keeper's presence made him feel calmer, happier, and somehow braver. But he did not yet know how to express the growing feeling in his chest, so he kept it quiet, letting the moments speak for themselves. That night, a soft fog rolled in from the sea. The lighthouse beam cut through the mist, glowing like a lantern in a dream. Milan and Aaron stood on the balcony, watching the waves and listening to the distant call of seabirds. The world below was silent, almost hidden, and the only sound was the rhythm of the ocean and their steady breathing. "You are quiet tonight," Milan said after a while, his voice soft. "I am thinking," Aaron replied. "About the sea, about the lighthouse, and sometimes about the people who visit." His gaze met Milan's, calm and steady. Milan felt a small shiver of anticipation. The gaze was not cold or distant, it was warm, as if it could reach into his heart. "I like it here," he admitted. "More than anywhere I have been." Aaron nodded. "Then you are welcome to stay, as long as you like. The balcony, the sea, they are better shared than kept alone." For a moment, Milan felt as if the world had shrunk to this balcony, this lighthouse, this quiet warmth between them. He did not speak, not because he had nothing to say, but because words felt unnecessary. The shared silence, the shared view, and the gentle presence of Aaron said everything he could not yet express. As the night deepened, stars began to appear, scattered across the sky like tiny lanterns. Milan pointed to one far above, a bright white dot that shimmered with distance. "Do you think people can ever reach them?" he asked quietly. Aaron smiled faintly. "Perhaps not in body, but in heart, we can touch anything we wish. Some lights, some places, some hearts, they are meant to guide us." Milan felt a warmth spread in his chest. The words were simple, but the meaning reached deep. In this lighthouse, on this balcony, beside this gentle keeper, he felt the first stirrings of a bond that was quiet but strong. It was a beginning, soft and unspoken, like the tide brushing against the shore, gentle, inevitable, and full of promise. The lighthouse beam continued its steady sweep, and the two of them stood together, quiet but not alone, letting the silence carry the beginnings of something new. The morning air was crisp as Milan stepped out onto the balcony. The lighthouse stood tall and calm, its walls glowing faintly in the early light. The sea below shimmered, restless but beautiful, stretching toward the horizon. Milan inhaled deeply, savoring the salt and breeze, feeling more awake than he had in months. Aaron was already on the balcony, leaning lightly against the railing. He turned when Milan approached, his silver eyes catching the sunlight. "Good morning," he said quietly, voice calm and smooth. "Good morning," Milan replied, smiling. "The sea looks alive today." Aaron nodded. "It is always alive. Sometimes it is calm, sometimes stormy, but it always moves. It teaches patience and care." Milan smiled softly, sensing there was truth in those words. He had come to admire not just the sea, but Aaron himself. There was a steady strength in the lighthouse keeper, a gentle calm that made Milan feel at ease. But today, he noticed something else, a subtle warmth that pulled him closer, something unspoken yet unmistakable. As the day passed, the wind picked up, and clouds gathered over the cliffs. Milan had planned to explore the nearby shores, but the sky darkened quickly. Soon, a storm began to roll in, waves crashing harder against the rocks. He started toward the shore anyway, curious and drawn to the sea's energy. Before he could reach the edge, a voice called from the lighthouse. "Milan. Wait." He turned to see Aaron running toward him, cloak flapping in the wind. "The storm will be dangerous. Come back." Milan hesitated, feeling the thrill of the wind, but the worry in Aaron's eyes pulled him back. "You're right," he admitted. Together, they ran toward the lighthouse, the wind tugging at their clothes and hair. Inside, the warmth of the fire and the smell of tea greeted them. Milan's heart was still racing, partly from the storm, partly from the relief of being safe. Aaron poured 2 cups of tea, his movements careful and steady. Milan sat near the fire, letting the warmth seep into his chilled fingers. They did not speak immediately. The storm's roar filled the silence, but the quiet space between them felt safe. Milan noticed the way Aaron's hands moved, the slight tilt of his head, the calm in his silver eyes. Something in Milan's chest tightened, a gentle pull he could not ignore. You should not have gone to the shore, Aaron said finally, his voice soft but firm. The waves can be unforgiving. I wanted to see it, Milan admitted. I wanted to feel the storm. He looked into Aaron's eyes and hesitated. But I am glad you stopped me. I would have been worried if something had happened. Aaron's gaze softened. I worry for those I care about. Even when I cannot say it in words. Milan's heart beat faster. Those words were quiet, simple, but they carried a depth he had not expected. The warmth in his chest grew, mingling with the fire's heat. He realized he cared more than he had admitted to himself or to anyone else. They sat closer together by the fire, listening to the rain tapping against the windows. The storm outside mirrored the emotions rising inside Milan: excitement, fear, and something tender that made him ache to be near Aaron. After a while, Milan spoke, voice barely above a whisper. Aaron. I feel drawn to you. I don't fully understand it, but I cannot ignore it. Aaron looked at him, his silver eyes steady and kind. I have felt it too, he admitted softly. Even before the storm. But I was unsure, if a human could understand, if you would feel the same way. Milan's chest swelled with warmth. The pull he had felt for days, the quiet fascination, the admiration, the gentle curiosity was now named. It was mutual. He reached out, almost instinctively, placing his hand near Aaron's. The keeper did not move away, instead, he let his hand hover close, creating a connection that was tender and electric at the same time. The storm continued to rage outside, but inside the lighthouse, time seemed to slow. They sat together, hearts racing quietly, sharing the moment without words. Milan realized that this gentle pull, the quiet attraction, the soft connection, was the start of something neither of them could yet fully understand. As the rain slowed and the first rays of sunlight peeked through the clouds, Milan felt a calm certainty. The storm had brought them closer, not just in body but in heart. On the balcony, with the sea stretching endlessly beyond, something new had begun, a bond that was quiet, deep, and impossible to ignore. The evening was quiet, almost still, as Milan climbed the narrow stairs to the lighthouse balcony. The sun had just set, leaving streaks of pink and violet across the horizon. The waves below glimmered with fading light, and the soft wind carried the smell of salt and seaweed. Milan paused for a moment, letting the beauty of the scene fill him with calm. Aaron was already on the balcony, standing near the railing, watching the horizon. His silver eyes caught the last light of the sun, and for a moment, he seemed as part of the sea itself, steady, calm, and untouchable. Hello, Milan said softly. Good evening, Aaron replied, turning to smile. The smile was gentle, a small warmth in the cool air. The sky is beautiful tonight. Milan nodded. It is. But I think this moment is more than the sky. He stopped, unsure how to express the feelings that had been growing inside him for days. Aaron tilted his head, noticing the hesitation. You can speak freely here. I will listen. Milan took a deep breath, his heart beating faster than he could control. Aaron. I have been trying to understand my feelings. Every day I come here, I feel drawn to you. Not just because of the lighthouse, or the sea, or even this view, but because of you. Your kindness, your calm, the way you watch the world. I feel something for you, and I cannot hide it anymore. Aaron listened quietly, the wind lifting strands of his hair. For a moment, he said nothing, and Milan feared he had spoken too much, too soon. But then, Aaron's silver eyes softened, and he stepped closer. "I have felt it too," Aaron said, voice low but steady. "Even before the storm that brought you here. I was unsure if you could feel the same, or if it was only my own heart that noticed. But now, I see that we share this feeling." Milan's chest tightened with joy. The words he had longed to hear, the quiet confirmation of a bond he could not ignore, were finally spoken. A gentle warmth spread through him, mingling with the cool evening air. They stood side by side, looking out at the endless sea. The lighthouse beam slowly swept across the waves, casting silver light on the water below. Milan felt the pull in his heart grow stronger, a quiet energy that seemed to connect him to Aaron. "Do you think it is possible?" Milan asked, voice barely above a whisper. "For us to be together, even here, in this place?" Aaron turned to him, his expression calm but tender. "Yes," he said simply. "There is no reason it cannot be. We are here, in the same moment. And moments like this, they are rare and precious. We can choose to share them, to see where they lead." Milan reached out slowly, almost hesitantly, and took Aaron's hand. The touch was gentle, warm, and it sent a small shiver through both of them. Aaron's hand held his firmly but softly, a promise without words, a steady presence that anchored Milan's heart. They remained on the balcony, the sea stretching endlessly before them, and for the first time, Milan felt fully seen and understood. The air was cool, but the warmth between them made the night feel gentle and safe. "I was afraid," Milan admitted quietly. "Afraid that my feelings might scare you away, or that they were too much for this quiet lighthouse." Aaron shook his head, smiling faintly. "Fear has no place here. Only honesty, and the choice to be present with one another." The lighthouse beam turned again, sweeping across the waves and cliffs. Milan realized that the light, steady and unwavering, mirrored the bond forming between them. It was quiet, but strong. Gentle, yet certain. They spoke little after that, letting silence carry their new understanding. Words were no longer necessary. A glance, a touch, the soft grip of hands, these spoke louder than anything spoken aloud. As the night deepened, stars appeared one by one in the sky, scattered like tiny lanterns. Milan and Aaron stood together, hand in hand, feeling the quiet pull of the world around them and the new pull growing between them. It was a beginning, small and tender, but undeniable. The balcony, the sea, and the sweeping light of the lighthouse became the stage for their heart's confession. Milan knew this was the start of something that could not be turned back, a gentle love, a steady bond, and the first real connection he had felt in his life. And as they remained there, side by side, Milan felt a quiet certainty bloom inside him. Some moments were meant to last forever, and this was one of them. The morning sun rose over the cliffs, painting the sea in gold and silver. Milan stood on the balcony of the lighthouse, his eyes tracing the waves as they rolled endlessly toward the shore. The air was cool, and the wind carried the scent of salt and seaweed. Yet despite the beauty surrounding him, a quiet tension weighed on his chest. A small transport ship had arrived at the colony that morning, anchored just off the shore. Its crew waved from the deck, calling out that it was ready to leave. Milan knew this meant a choice: he could continue his travels, explore new lands, and see more of the world, or he could stay here, beside Aaron, in the lighthouse that had begun to feel like home. He walked inside, trying to keep his mind calm. Aaron was tending the lighthouse mechanism, adjusting the light to ensure the beam swept perfectly across the waves. The steady movements, the quiet focus, and the calm presence made Milan's chest tighten even more. "Aaron," Milan began softly, unsure how to start. The ship, it is ready to leave. I could go with it, see other lands. Aaron turned slowly, his silver eyes meeting Milan's. He said nothing at first, just looked, and in that look, Milan saw the conflict reflected back at him. The keeper's calm face held a quiet sadness, a weight of care that made Milan's heart ache. I cannot stop you, Aaron said finally, voice low and even. The choice is yours. You have always followed your own path, Milan. I cannot ask you to stay if your heart wants to move on. Milan swallowed hard, feeling the tug of uncertainty. He had always valued freedom, the thrill of exploring new places, but now, faced with leaving, he felt a strange heaviness he had never known before. The lighthouse, the balcony, and Aaron's silver eyes called to him, and the thought of leaving filled him with sadness he could not ignore. Days passed as Milan wrestled with the decision. He wandered the shore, watching the waves and thinking about all he had experienced since arriving. He remembered the quiet evenings on the balcony, the stormy night that had brought them close, and the soft confession under the stars. Each memory pulled him back to the lighthouse, to Aaron, to a bond that felt steady and true. One afternoon, he returned to the lighthouse, finding Aaron standing silently on the balcony. The wind lifted Aaron's hair, and his silver eyes seemed to reflect the endless sky. Milan's chest tightened at the sight, realizing how much he had grown attached in such a short time. I've thought, Milan said slowly, stepping closer. I could leave, and see new lands, meet new people. But, nothing I've seen compares to this. He gestured to the lighthouse, the balcony, and the endless sea. Nothing feels like this. Nothing feels like you. Aaron's eyes softened, and he reached out, placing a steady hand on Milan's shoulder. I hoped you would see it this way, he said quietly. I wanted you to choose, but I did not want to pressure you. Some bonds cannot be forced. They must be felt freely, from the heart. Milan felt a warmth spreading through him, a relief that mingled with love. I do not want to leave, he admitted. Not anymore. The world is wide, but I have found something here, someone who matters more than anything else. I want to stay. Aaron's lips curved into a gentle smile, the first real smile Milan had seen in days. Then stay, he said simply. The balcony, the lighthouse, the sea, they will all welcome you. And so will I. The tension that had weighed on Milan's chest lifted, replaced with a gentle warmth that spread like sunlight. The thought of leaving was gone, replaced by the certainty of choosing to be with someone who truly cared for him. That night, they stood together on the balcony, watching the waves glimmer under the moonlight. The lighthouse beam swept steadily across the water, a symbol of guidance and safety. Milan leaned slightly against Aaron, feeling the steady rhythm of his heart. The distance that had felt inevitable, the choice he had feared making, had dissolved into quiet certainty. I was afraid, Milan whispered, that leaving was the only way, that I would lose this. You did not lose it, Aaron replied softly, because you chose. Some things are worth staying for. Some people are worth choosing. Milan smiled, feeling the pull of the night, the lighthouse, and the sea around him. He realized that distance was not only physical, it was a choice, a test of the heart. And now, having chosen, he felt closer to Aaron than ever before. The waves rolled endlessly below, carrying the sound of the sea into the night. Milan and Aaron remained on the balcony, quiet but together, feeling the steady pull of a bond that had weathered uncertainty and fear. For the first time, Milan knew that staying was not a limitation, it was the beginning of something enduring, gentle, and beautiful. The morning was quiet, with soft light spilling over the cliffs and reflecting on the restless sea. Milan stood on the shore, staring at the horizon where the distant ship waited. He could feel the pull of adventure, the call of new lands and unknown places. Yet, no matter how far he looked, his thoughts kept returning to the lighthouse, to the balcony, to Aaron. He walked along the edge of the cliffs, the wind tugging at his clothes and hair. His mind raced with possibilities, but every path seemed to lead back to the same truth: he wanted to stay. Not for the view, not for the lighthouse alone, but for Aaron, the calm, steady presence who had become more important to him than he could fully express. Milan stopped and closed his eyes, letting the sound of the waves fill his mind. Memories of quiet evenings, shared stories, and gentle silences on the balcony flowed through him. The way Aaron's silver eyes had watched him, the way his voice had carried warmth even in the coldest winds, all of it tugged at Milan's heart. He realized that some things in life were worth choosing, even if it meant giving up other opportunities. Turning back toward the lighthouse, Milan felt a mixture of relief and nervous excitement. He wanted to tell Aaron, to make the choice known, but words seemed small compared to the depth of his feelings. Still, he knew that honesty was the only way forward. When he reached the lighthouse, Aaron was already on the balcony, looking out at the sea. His posture was calm, but there was a faint tension in his shoulders, as if he, too, had been thinking of choices and possibilities. "Aaron," Milan began, his voice steady despite the nervousness in his chest, "I've thought a lot about the ship, about leaving, about everything I might see if I went." He paused, looking into Aaron's silver eyes. "And I've realized. I do not want to leave. I want to stay. Not just here, but here with you." Aaron's eyes softened, and a small, gentle smile appeared on his face. "I hoped you would feel that way," he said quietly. "I did not want to pressure you. Some choices must be made freely. The heart knows its own truth when it is ready." Milan stepped closer, the balcony under his feet and the endless sea beyond them. "I understand now," he said, taking a slow breath. "The world is wide, full of beauty and adventure. But none of it matters if I am not here, with someone I care for. With you." Aaron reached out, placing a hand over Milan's. The touch was steady, warm, and reassuring. "Then stay," he said simply. "The lighthouse, the sea, and the skies will all welcome you. And so will I." Milan felt a wave of relief and happiness. The choice, once heavy and uncertain, now felt natural. His heart, which had been tugged by fear and longing, was finally at peace. "I am staying," he said softly. "I choose this. I choose you." A gentle wind brushed past them, carrying the scent of salt and the faint sounds of the waves crashing against the cliffs. For the first time in weeks, Milan felt completely calm. The world was vast, yes, but he had found a place and a person worth anchoring his heart to. They stood side by side on the balcony, hands touching, watching as the lighthouse beam swept slowly across the ocean. The light seemed brighter tonight, reflecting the quiet certainty in their hearts. The choices they had faced, the storm, the distant ship, the uncertainty of feelings had brought them closer, and now they were certain of each other. "Some things," Aaron said softly, "cannot be hurried. They arrive in their own time. The bond we share, it was never forced. We only needed to recognize it." Milan nodded, feeling warmth spread through him. "Yes," he said. "And now we can face the world together, whatever it brings." The sky above was turning deep blue, dotted with the first stars of the evening. Milan and Aaron remained on the balcony, quiet but connected. The lighthouse, standing tall against the cliffs, seemed to echo their choice, steady, guiding, and unwavering. As night fell, the sound of the sea became a gentle lullaby. Milan rested his hand lightly against Aaron's, feeling the rhythm of his heart and the certainty of their decision. The ship, the distant lands, and the unknown were no longer temptations, they were choices that could wait. Here, now, and always, the lighthouse and the balcony held the promise of love, safety, and togetherness. In that quiet moment, Milan knew that some choices defined life not by adventure, but by connection. And he had chosen what truly mattered: the lighthouse, the sea, and the keeper with silver eyes who had become the center of his heart. The lighthouse stood tall against the morning sky, its white walls glowing softly in the early light. Milan moved along the balcony, adjusting the small lanterns that lined the railing. He had grown accustomed to the rhythm of the lighthouse, the steady sweep of the beam, and the calm of the sea below. But most of all, he had grown accustomed to Aaron, always near, always steady, always a quiet presence that anchored his heart. Aaron appeared beside him, his silver eyes reflecting the light of the rising sun. "You are early," he said softly, though a small smile played on his lips. "I wanted to help," Milan replied. "It feels right, being here, doing this with you." Aaron nodded, his gaze drifting to the waves below. "It is more than the work. It is the moments we share while doing it. Even the smallest tasks become meaningful when shared." Milan smiled, feeling the truth in Aaron's words. Since the day he had chosen to stay, every morning, every evening, every quiet hour on the balcony had felt fuller, warmer, and alive. The lighthouse was no longer just a place, it was home. As the day progressed, travelers passed along the coast, their ships guided safely by the lighthouse beam. Milan and Aaron moved with the familiar rhythm, checking lights, observing the sea, and sharing small smiles and quiet glances. Each task, each shared moment, built a gentle closeness that neither of them needed to speak aloud. In the evening, they stepped onto the balcony together. The sky had turned deep blue, dotted with countless stars. The waves shimmered under the soft glow of the lighthouse, and the air carried a quiet peace. Milan leaned slightly against Aaron, feeling the steady warmth of his companion beside him. "It is beautiful tonight," Milan said softly. "Yes," Aaron agreed. "The sea, the sky, the stars, they all remind me that there is wonder in every moment, even the quiet ones we often overlook." Milan looked up at the stars, then at Aaron, and realized that the greatest wonder he had found was not in distant lands or unknown seas, it was here, in this lighthouse, on this balcony, beside this gentle keeper. He reached for Aaron's hand, feeling the comfort and warmth in the simple gesture. Aaron took his hand without hesitation, their fingers entwining naturally. "Some lights guide us," Aaron said quietly. "Some people guide us. And sometimes, we are lucky enough to find both in the same place." Milan smiled, feeling a happiness that had no need for words. They stood together, hand in hand, feeling the rhythm of the waves and the sweep of the lighthouse beam. The bond they had formed, quiet, tender, and unwavering, was reflected in every gentle movement, every glance, and every touch. Days passed in this gentle routine. They shared meals, stories, and the peaceful rhythm of the lighthouse. Milan learned the intricacies of the light, how to adjust it carefully, how to watch the sea with patience and attention. Aaron taught him everything with quiet guidance, their shared efforts deepening the connection between them. One night, as the moon rose high and the stars scattered like silver dust across the sky, Milan and Aaron stepped onto the balcony together. The lighthouse beam rotated slowly, illuminating the waves far below. "Do you ever think," Milan asked softly, that some moments are meant to last forever. Aaron glanced at him, silver eyes reflecting moonlight. I do, he said. Some places, some people, they leave a mark that never fades. The bond we share is one of them. It is steady, constant, and true. Milan felt a calm certainty bloom inside him. Then we will face everything together, he said. The storms, the calm seas, the days and nights. Whatever comes, we will be here, side by side. Aaron smiled, a gentle warmth that made Milan's heart swell. Yes, he said. Together. They remained on the balcony, quiet but connected, watching the waves shimmer in the moonlight. The lighthouse beam swept across the water, a steady reminder of guidance, protection, and light. In the gentle rhythm of the world around them, Milan realized that love did not need grand gestures or loud words. Sometimes, it was found in the quietest places, in shared glances, intertwined hands, and the steady presence of someone who cared. The sea, the sky, and the lighthouse became their world, a place where moments were eternal and hearts were safe. Milan leaned slightly against Aaron, feeling the pulse of life, the certainty of choice, and the beauty of connection. The balcony, once a place of solitude and duty, had become a place of love and belonging. And as the lighthouse beam continued to sweep across the waves, it seemed to echo their hearts, steady, bright, and eternal. Milan knew that no matter what storms came, no matter what challenges arose, their bond would remain unbroken. The lighthouse would guide ships, the sea would move endlessly, and their hearts would stay together, as constant as the light that shone above the cliffs. In that quiet, eternal glow, Milan and Aaron stood side by side, hand in hand, knowing that some lights were meant to last forever and some loves, like the light on the lighthouse balcony, would never fade.